All right. So I'm a big fan of Matt Walsh. I think he's a fantastic podcaster and influencer, and he's had a tremendously good effect on this country. His movies, "My Racist" and "What Is a Woman," have moved the conversation in many positive ways on those topics, and he's fantastic. One thing that he gets totally wrong, and he speaks about a lot, is AI. Now, full disclosure, I use AI to create satire. I use a lot of AI video and a lot of AI imagery, and so Matt was talking about AI video and AI images and AI art most on one of his recent episodes, referring to a discussion with Joe Rogan and Ben Affleck. And I want to show you that. And he gets it so catastrophically wrong. It should be obvious to anyone, but I want to explain, I want to give my thoughts and weigh in on this topic and the topic of AI art in general. So let me share this piece. I'm going to share the full piece to give it a fair look.
In the film industry, this is an issue that I care about. AI in general, and in particular AI in the arts. We talk about a lot on the show. And so there's been some discussion about this clip online and Affleck's take on it. Let's listen.
What I see is, like, for example, if you try to get ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to write you something, it's real. And it's because by its nature, it goes to the mean, to the average. And it's not reliable. And I just can't stand to see what it writes. Now, it's a useful tool if you're a writer and you're going, what's the thing? I'm trying to set something up, or somebody sends someone a letter, but it's delayed 2 days and it can give you some examples of that. I actually don't think it's very likely that it's going to be able to write anything meaningful, and in particular, that it's going to be making movies like from whole cloth, like Tilly Norwood. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's not. I think it turns out the technology is not progressing in exactly the same way they sort of presented it. And really, what it is going to be a tool, just like sort of visual effects. And yeah, it needs to have language around it. You need to protect your name and likeness. You can do that. You can watermark it. Those laws already exist. I can't sell your picture for money. I can't. You can sue me, period. It kind of feels to me like the thing we were talking about earlier, where there's a lot more fear because we have this existential dread. It's going to wipe everything out.
Right.
But that actually runs counter, in my view, to what history seems to show, which is adoption is slow. It's incremental. I think.
So I agree with this 100%, and I agree with the next comment he's about to make about the investment justifying the hype. And let's skip over to Matt's response.
The CapEx spend they're going to make on the watch in the way of.
There are 2 points I want to add. And so that I'm very, very opposed to the idea of AI art, quote unquote art. And I'm very opposed to AI in many other contexts, not all, but in many other contexts. I think the chance that AI basically destroys human society is much higher than the chance that it proves to be any kind of net positive for humanity. I think both of those results are possible, but I think the result of it causing civilization level destruction, I think that is much greater. But I'll add this. First, I differ with Affleck on one thing. He says that.
So this is a weird take because it has already produced tremendous gains for human society, and there are problems, but the evidence that it's going to destroy human society is up in the air. It's not a greater chance.
That in the context of art, writing, filmmaking, it can be a useful tool, but I don't think it's a tool at all artistically. It can be a tool in other ways, but in the creation of art, it is not a tool. Because, and a lot of people I was arguing about this again today on X, and a lot of people want to believe that it's a tool because they use it, and they might use it for some artistic things, for some creative things, and they want to believe that they are the artist using a tool, but that is not the case. Because a tool, like AI, does the task for you. That's not, tools are objects that.
Okay, now listen to this, what he's about to say, because this is where he makes a huge logical error. Let's have a listen.
You use to accomplish a task that you are doing. AI just does the task. And this is easy to understand if you think in terms of actual tools. So if there was a hammer where you could press a button and it would just hammer all the nails for you, not even like it makes it easier to hammer the nails, but you can sit on the couch and drink a beer and this thing will hover, and around and just nail all the stuff for you. Well, in that case, it would be inaccurate to say that you used the tool to hammer the nails. You didn't do anything. You did not hammer the nails. The thing did all that. You didn't even have to be there. You could have left the room. You could have gone to lunch and come back and all the stuff would be nailed. It's very convenient. I can see the appeal of something like that, but you can't have your cake and eat it too here. You can't use this thing to do the task for you and then also want to take credit for it and say, oh yeah, that's a good bit of construction that I just provided. You didn't do it. You did not do it. The thing did the whole thing. On the other hand, if you use like an actual hammer, a regular hammer, yes, that is you using this thing to accomplish the goal. But it
All right, so that was Matt Walsh's take. I think this last piece was so breathtakingly stupid that it's like shocking that it even came from him. But let's break it down. Matt Walsh is correct that if you have a tool that nails all the nails into where you want them to be nailed, you didn't do any nailing. And that's 100% right. But the question is what the task is. Nobody cares about putting nails into wood. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but that is a weird objective. Let's say you're building a house and you have a thing that puts all the nails in perfectly for you. So that you're certainly building the house. And when it comes to AI, the difference between well thought out prompts and slop is very clear. People have accused my stuff of slop, but let me explain what I mean. Let's say you and I generate an AI video. So I agree with Ben Affleck. You can't do the writing with AI because AI never produces anything interesting. It's highly censored and it's not funny. Like it's not great at that. But when you bouncing off ideas and helping with spellings, when you create a script. So then let's say like I have an idea for an image. So I'll give you an example, right? Like one of my best videos was with like a woman, a liberal woman on a train yelling about, it was about like that woman that had been murdered on a train from Ukraine. And it was about how like the liberal woman someone had heard someone had been murdered from Ukraine, and she like blamed Putin, and then she found out it had been done right here by a repeat offender, and she like ran off the train covering her ears. So I had that idea. Now I cannot illustrate or draw. So I said to myself, okay, I have an image that I want. So I prompted like a very specific type of image. And it took like a while to iterate over the specific one. Then I built out a script, and it took a while to build that out. And then after that, I generated a video from that script. It took a couple of takes, a couple of versions I had to put together. And that's how I built it out. Now, it is true that I didn't film the video. It is also true that I didn't draw any pixels. So you can make the claim that I didn't make the art. But what was the art? What did I make? What was I going for? I was trying for a satirical response. The purpose wasn't to shoot video. The purpose wasn't to create pixels. So sure, I didn't create any pixels. But that's not what the point is. Like let's say like there are many roles in a creative process. Let's say you're like the director. So are you doing the acting? So how can you take credit for that movie? You didn't do the acting. But that's silliness because the director has a major creative role. So Matt's right that you can't ask for a painting, like give me a beautiful painting, AI, and then it'll give you a beautiful painting, and you're like, well, look, I created a beautiful painting. No, you didn't, obviously. But if you're like asking for a very specific thing, and you're going back and editing and changing, so you created that. Are you then like a painter? No. But there was never the point. Just like if you're building a house, if I'm a contractor, so I'm going to hire plumbers, and I'm going to hire carpenters, and I'm going to hire metal workers, right? So then, can I then claim that I built the house? Of course I can, because building the house is not about hammering nails. And do you think there won't be a million AI versions eventually, robots that will be able to build pieces of the house? And then what, we'll say people don't build houses anymore? No, of course not. Because the creative part, the human part, was never the banging the nail into the wall. And that's just obvious. I'm not knocking craftsmen. I'm not knocking people that will never use AI. That's a beautiful thing. And that's beautiful. And that's wonderful. And we should have art like that. But the idea that you are not creating something that is not art because of the modality, because the process was helped along by a machine is absurd. And you see just very different degrees of quality of AI based on what comes out. So it is a tool. And just like every tool, if it's used correctly, it produces good results. And used incorrectly, it produces nonsense and garbage. And that's every tool. So I just don't understand Matt's perspective over here. Sure, there's lots of slop, and sure, we don't his points about sharing a culture that he made on other episodes and are interesting takes and interesting social takes. But the idea that AI art is not art is rubbish. All right, that'll for today. If you do it for today, if you disagree with me, if you think I got it wrong, if you think I misunderstood something, please let me know.